All right, so we got all the engine cases clean, got everything clean. I haven't yet ordered everything off of Amazon that we need. There is a piston coming, head gasket set, oil filter, and another gasket. I can't remember what it is. But so I went to the other shop today and talked to them about this particular motor because I'm like, I haven't found anything wrong with this. Well, lo and behold, it probably wasn't even a motor issue, more of an electrical issue, but they just followed the diagnostics from another shop that diagged it and said the motor was bad. So they were a authorized service center, so they just swapped the motors out like the other place had diagged, and I haven't found anything wrong with this. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna go ahead and start cleaned it all up. We're gonna put it all back together. Like I said, I'm gonna have a new piston and gasket kit in here. So we're just gonna go ahead and reverse all the steps. So hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you guys can find a little something. I may have issues with the transmission, getting it all back together, how it needs to go and in what order. When I say what order, I mean like transmission, gears, and all that, and the shift drum. It's a pain in the butt sometimes. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into that part right now. All right, so now we got the shift drum. It's all clean. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on it instead of moly lube. I just use a little bit of oil. Lube everything up again. All the bearings have already had oil put back on them and spun them. Make sure that everything's oiled up really good after putting this in the solvent tank and cleaning it. Transmission, it's all back together. Fun part now is to get it all to go back in the right spot where it's supposed to go. Without causing a major headache here. Because I know bam. There we go. Transmission is back in its place. It's honestly kind of that simple. Most of the time it's that simple. What am I missing here? So now we're gonna go ahead and put in like the pinion gear, the drive gear for the transmission, slide it underneath, and it will just, if you got it in the right way, it'll all just line back up. I don't think I have that right. I think it's cut the same both sides. I can't remember. Ow. There we go. That's all the way in. Grab my 4 bolts. Go ahead and tighten those up here. Grab our torque wrench. I believe those are 24 Newton meters, if I can, off the top of my head. Or if you want, you can do the good and tight method. That's up to you, but I'm gonna put it at 24 because it's an 8mm bolt. So we got that back reinstalled. We can see it's spinning. I'll go ahead and put a little bit of oil on all the gears, on the chain. And you can pre-oil this stuff before you put it in. It's fine too. I just didn't do that. Put some down here on the shift drum and the shift fork shaft. So back in here, I believe this is where if you had a park on this machine, they would put the park lever at, put it in there as a shift drum would turn. It would actually connect into one of the slots back here in the transmission and lock that in place so it couldn't roll anywhere. This model, we all know it doesn't have park. It has high, low, neutral, and reverse, and that's it. So we got this part of the case together. Let's go ahead and throw back in the balancer, counterbalancer, I should say. Not balancer, but counterbalancer. We got that there. And now we just need to It's really simple. These things are they're not complicated in any way. So next thing we need to do, we need to line it around here with a nice coat of silicone. And then we'll put our dowel pins back in here and here. And then we'll go ahead and slide the case halves together. Before we forget this part, like we did last time, we'll go ahead and put in that little, the shift drum detent spring and ball bearing, so we don't forget that. That'll just go right in here like this. Just tighten that down. Instead of having a shift star and a shift pawl like you do on the on motorcycles and ATVs and stuff like that, this one here just has a ball bearing that acts as that star that sits down in those little valleys, as you guys saw before. That, yes, I forgot to take out like a brilliant person. Where is my 14 at? Here it is. Go ahead and tighten that back up. That's nice and tight. All right, like I said, we're going to go ahead and take some silicone. We'll put it around here. We also put it right here on this guy. That did have it on there, so we'll just run a bead on this side. And some people do it on both sides, so I like to do my cases on both sides, so I know it's got a good seal, but I don't leave it thick. I don't leave a bead. I put a nice thin layer across both sides. I use for that, I use Suzuki silicone gasket. It's part number 1216. It's worked well. Suzuki's got a couple different ones for case halves and covers and stuff like that. Never had an issue with anything leaking when I use this on any of it. So, all right. So now what we're gonna do, I'll move this half back off to the side, let it set for a moment or two. Slide this one back over. Make sure our rod's not in the way. And then we're just gonna go ahead and slide the case halves back together. And then any excess on the outside, we'll go ahead and wipe that clean. Your biggest thing is make sure you have it all on the inside of all your holes. You don't really have to necessarily have it on the outside, but I just like to make sure, double check this one, make sure it looks all good. I know it's out of camera view, but I can see a few spots that I didn't hit very well. Once I got over here in a different light. All right, now that looks good. All right, so grab the other half, flip it over the transmission shaft, find the crankshaft, straight down over the shift drum. We might have to rotate this a little bit to get it to go. Just work it back and forth. I forgot about it. Give it a couple light taps to make sure she's fully seated. I do see a little bit of all right, now we know she's fully seated. Just wanted to make sure it was all fully seated down there. You can see a couple spots where I overshot with some silicone. We'll just clean that up a little bit. No biggie at all. Check around it. Clean up a few more spots. And now we'll go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and start assembling this side. So it's all your 8mm bolts and all that, or 8mm, I shouldn't say 8mm, but yeah. But your 8mm head bolts, get those out of this package here. That way it gives us the start on securing a side. back together, and then we could rotate it over and put the bolts on the other side. Start with the big ones, the big ones. But all these are the same length on this side. Go ahead and grab our 8mm socket, run them down, and then torque them all to 12 Newton meters. I'm going to start on the inside here. Let's kind of skip one, about every other one. Now we'll hit them all. It's not very many on this side at all. All right, so pull that off, turn this bad boy back on. Put them all down at 12 Newton meters and just hit them all. Fun part is rotating the motor over now. Set it here. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and start adding all our other nuts and bolts back in. We're going to start with the 3 biggest. And those will be 24 Newton meters. Where's my 6? Oh, dropping stuff. Whoop. There we go. Drop back down to 12 for the rest of the case bolts. Remember, again, you have long and shorts. The longest came out of the inside, and the next 2 long ones were in opposite corners. If I can remember which corner it was, there we go. And then all these other ones are just, let me get you a better view of what's going on there. There we go. And we'll go ahead and tighten all those down. Now we'll check them all with 12 Newton meters. If I can get this. There we go. Now we'll just, what I do, I kind of check the case halves. I'll wipe the excess off that's kind of smearing out. Kind of, you know, you don't have to, but it just gives it a better look. You know, you have a little more pride in your stuff there. That's the same thing I do all my race motors. Pretty much any motor I build, I should say, not just race, but like I was saying, just wiping the silicone off. It's something I started doing a long time ago when I was being taught how to build race motors, and it's something I kind of just took with me after the fact, even though it's not very often I get a chance to build a race motor anymore. Most of our stuff is done in-house by Ducati. But if I build like an R6 or a CBR 600 or something like that, I still clean up all this excess silicone. Just gives the customer a better feel. Looks nicer. It doesn't look like you did a sloppy job, even though you never want to do a sloppy job. There we go. One thing I will end up doing is I'll stuff full of this, and then we'll go ahead and I'll clean all this off once that's all full of all that good stuff. So what we can do now, honestly, we can go ahead, since the case halves are back together, we can just go ahead and put the parts back on it from the outside in. So let's just go ahead and start with this side. Actually, no, let's not start because I need to put the cam chain tensioner on there. Actually, yeah, we can do that. It's not a big deal. Slide that right through. Right now, with just the way it is. And then I'll go ahead and put the cam chain back over that, because that really doesn't matter right now. So cam chain, we'll just flop it down through here, over the top, around and on, grab the cam chain tensioner, we can just slide it down like this, and we'll go ahead and put it on like that. Timing chain tensioner back on there. Go ahead and tighten that down. We'll hit that up at 12 Newton meters also. I know they're tight enough already just by using my impact, but nothing wrong with checking everything. Next, once we get all this going, we'll have to time up the the thing that goes, the balancer gear, man. So now we're gonna go ahead and put in the springs. Remember, every other one gets one of the ones that have the spacer in it. These things are kind of a pain to do. All right, guys, so there is something I almost forgot to mention about when we go ahead and line up the counterbalancer weight and the crankshaft. So on the counterbalancer, you can see right here, there is a mark. There is a mark on the crankshaft on this spot here. That spot on the crankshaft will line up with the little factory indentation mark right here. So when you put it on, that will line up just like this. If I can get it on there, right? Just like that. That way your counterbalancer will miss the crank and it'll all be in proper rotation, and then we'll go ahead and put our little springs back in. We can do that now. Remember, every other one has the little rod inside of there, which can make it a little bit of a pain to put together. But we definitely remember to line this up, this gear here with the spot on the crankshaft, the little hole drilled through, and then that'll line up with the dot. These two dots will line up for the counterbalancer and the crank together. I almost forgot to show you guys that. I had to take this back apart real quick to show you that step. And this dot and that dot lined up together. So now we're gonna go ahead and install my little piece there, so those don't come out. The washer, this guy, if I can get it to go, sit on there. There's that. And then we'll put the snap ring on. Remember, all this does is basically hold that in place. So we'll grab a snap ring pliers. Let me try to get you guys a better angle here. It's kind of horrible to see. I know, I'm on the side. Snap ring pliers. Wide enough, just make sure it goes down. Boom. And your snap back in place. All right, so we dropped that all in. I forgot I had to put the oil pump gear in with it. So I just lifted it up, put the oil pump gear on the chain and slid it down Didn't realize, once again, that I wasn't recording something. But anyways, we'll stick that back in there. Throw this nut back on. And I'm just going to hit that. I don't know. I honestly don't know what the torque is. Good German torque spec of good and tight. Sounds really good to me. Yeah. I know it's not proper. Don't give me a hard time. But honestly, I am not too worried about it. And it looks like it lines back up the original spot where it was anyways. We'll go on and take this little tab, pop it back up a little bit, just a little bit, and then we'll grab a pair of channel locks. And now we'll just spin it this way a little bit, grab a pair of channel locks, squeeze it, boom, it's up on there, flush all the way around. Now we're going to put the circlip in on the oil pump. Circlip snap ring. Oh man, snap ring. Learn the word snap ring, Kyle, come on. And remember, we don't want to stretch this very far. We just want enough to get it over. Slide it down. Make sure it's locked in place. There we go. Now, everything spins. Oil pump, balancer, crank. Double check the crank gear for timing as far as the balancer goes. Now we're going to go ahead and put back in the starter gear right there. And then we go ahead and put in the gear for the clutch. There we go. Now we got to put the Woodruff key in after the fact. Put it there, and then we could go ahead and slide down the flywheel. Make sure it's lined up. Big thing, we'll have to turn the flywheel a little bit until it goes all the way down on there like it is. So we got that. And then the next thing we do is we can put the side case back on. We do have, the gasket is still, okay, bye babe. We put the side case back together, slide the starter in, and button that up, and this side will be good. All right, we're gonna go ahead and slide this guy over here. If I can get everything lined up right. Ooh, about took my finger off. I know this side case isn't clean, but again, you remember this thing does have a crack in it, so whoever ends up buying this motor, they will have to change the side case cover with the stator cover, because that is cracked. Now I can clean it up later on, but personally, like I said, it's going to be replaced anyways, I would assume, unless somebody decides to JB weld it instead, which I would tell them no. But to each their own. So now we're going to go ahead and put in all the bolts around the outside, and we'll torque all those to 10 Newton meters. Remember, there are a couple that are longer than others, so let's not forget that. So we've got to find those spots again. There's one up there. There's another one. There's another one. There's 3 up top. There's another one. And then I believe there was one that has all, 2 of them have all threads, and the rest are all the same length otherwise. Yeah, so the rest are same length. The all thread ones, I believe, went up top here into the engine case halves. And then the rest of these guys just went around the outside. Right there. We'll take an 8mm and tighten all those down. And we'll secure them at 10 Newton meters, 10 to 12 Newton meters. I'll put them at 12 after the fact. So All right, come back. And now we'll torque them all to 12 Newton meters. But like I said before, I'm pretty sure they're all already there just from using the impact. There we go. All those are tight. Now we can go ahead and put the water pump back on. The water pump has not been cleaned at all. Remember to line up the splice down here with the oil pump. So you may have to adjust the water pump just a little bit. So that should be really close. And remember, you shouldn't have to force it on there. You could take a little bit of oil or grease, and we'll put it on that O-ring before I forget. That'll help out. So we'll go ahead and put the water pump on. There we go. Again, tighten these down, 12 Newton meters. Double check that with our torque. There we go. There we go. We'll check the ones on the body anyways. We'll grab our fan piece for the fan here. For some reason I keep turning this light on. And then we'll go ahead and slide that down. Doesn't matter how that goes. That'll just slide all the way down there. Same thing with that. I believe that was a 16 millimeter. One. But good and tight will do the trick. Just don't over tight it so you don't split your crank. And then you go ahead and put the fan cover back on. You gotta remember this one's busted, all tore up. So I'll just, I guess I could remount it, but it's kind of pointless. I will put the fan back on, so we'll have that. So nobody has to worry about that. So the fan will be on here. I can already tell somebody forgot a couple bolts the last time they did this. So we'll go ahead and run these down. Then I'll grab the rest of these. So we'll have all these guys here, and I will take these three out because this is what held, you know, you had four that held it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 that held this on. So these will be put in a baggie. I will take these out of here, and I will sell these along with the rest of the motor. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put in the shift mechanism here. Again, this one, pretty easy to put on. Just get it all lined up. We'll go ahead and hit that with a 10 millimeter. And we'll shift it back 2 clicks, should be dead even there. And then this guy right here, the little dot right there, that'll line up in the center. You can count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So between a 4th and 4th tooth in the center, I'll put a little bit of oil on this thing. And that dot will line up dead center there. They usually have a indentation on both of those. You know what I'm gonna do actually? I'm gonna go ahead and grab a center punch and actually put those on there, because they honestly should have those on there. So let's go ahead and there we go. There we go. You kind of see them now. You can see the dents, the indentions. So that, we'll grab our gasket, the bolt. And my little dowel, where'd you go? Slide him back in there. I will slide a bolt through the top left side of this. Slide this back over. Oop, that's missing the gasket down here on that piece. Oh, come on. Oh, come back, bolt. That'll go there. Probably should have put the dowel in the same side with the where I was putting the gasket at. But anyways, just a nice little tap, 8mm. We'll tighten that one down. And I don't have the 2 screws for that. So we can go ahead, if we want, we can go ahead and put the oil lines back on. If you want to, I'm gonna actually do that right now, just so they're on there. Deal. So we got those lines on. Boy, I don't have you guys at a good angle. Got these lines back on. Oil filter is on its, it's gonna be on its way. I haven't ordered anything yet. I need to order that. We're gonna go ahead and slide the starter back in. We're just going to put as much of this thing back together that we can with what we have. The starter's very simple to install. Just remember to use a little bit of oil or grease on the O-ring to help it seal, and just slide in there a little bit easier. There we go with that. Oh, my nose itches. There we go. Starter's back in place. Cam chain's on there. One-way bearing. Everything works. Oh, kids are driving me crazy today. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and flip the motor around so we can go ahead and put back in the neutral safety switch, gear position sensor, and then we'll go ahead and put on some of the oil lines on the other side. This thing gets heavy fast. Woo! There we go. So let's grab our neutral safety switch. We'll grab our gear position sensor. All right, that's nice and tight. Take these out here. Clean the face of that a little bit. And we'll just go ahead and pop that back in. Boop. Perfect. There's that one. And this one. That's a 10. Again, 12 Newton meters. We know that's tight enough. All right, so we got our gasket on there. We got our dowel pins in. We'll use the same wet clutch, slap it on there. I think the torque on this thing's like 110 newton meters, something like that. But what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna run it in until I get the same spot that was peened on the same flat spot. If I can hold it in place here. We just look for that flat spot, a little bit more. Perfect. I'll rotate it over till we get to that spot there. Just grab a screwdriver. You can use a punch, but I'll just grab a screwdriver and a hammer and peen it down on there like that. It should be good to go there. And then remember, the numbers face you. So it spins that way, but not the other when it goes into the clutch drum. So like this. And then go over like that, boom. It's all together there. We'll go ahead and put our bolts in and we'll torque that down to 12 newton meters on all those bolts also. One thing I forgot to mention, there are 2 bolts that are longer. You could kind of tell where they go. They're a little bit, the holes are a little bit different. They go there and down here, and the rest of those are the same length.